Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Tony Valasek, who is the Director of Engineering for EOSYS. In this role, he is responsible for project delivery oversight, employee performance, and career development. Tony also represents the engineering team's perspective in recruiting, best practices, and corporate planning and development. He joined the company in 2009 as the engineering manager. All told, Tony has over 30 years of engineering and manufacturing experience in diverse international industries with various industry leaders such as Oberg Manufacturing, Tyco Electronics, and Triumph Aerospace. Tony earned a BS in Aerospace Engineering from Penn State University, an MBA from the University of North Carolina, and a PhD in Business Administration with a specialization in international business from North Central University. And if that's not enough, Tony is also a certified project management professional, a certified MBTI practitioner, as well as a U.S. patent holder. Plus, he is the chair of CSIA's Best Practices Committee. Whew. Tony, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started in the business of control system integration.
Well, I'm not the traditional hire in this space. I happened to be in the market over 12 years ago, and Ken Coggins, the founder of EOSYS, premier system integrators at the time, was looking for an engineering manager at our headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee. Ken had the foresight to know that the company was continuing to grow, and the infrastructure had to grow accordingly. He didn't need someone to run controls projects. He needed someone to come into the organization with a focus on internal challenges such as process development, employee growth, and to help mentor a less experienced engineering management team that we had at the time. He needed someone who was engineering minded and understood technical people and also had a passion for process improvements and realized he didn't necessarily need someone from the industry. At the time, I was trying to decide if I wanted to work for another billion-dollar company or a small one, a public company or a private one. Having worked in each, I know the pros and cons firsthand. Coming most recently from a big company, the one thing I definitely missed was the intimacy of a smaller company. I saw this position available and decided it was worth a discussion, given my experience in the engineering leadership, even though I only had minimal understanding of control systems at the time. Ken and I had a few discussions, met a few times, and we realized that we had many things in common regarding operating management philosophies, and here we are.
So if you're at a cocktail party, or I guess barbecue season's coming up, how would you describe to lay people what you do?
Well, you never really know what people know and don't know. So I typically assume they know very little about what we do. I typically ask people if they've ever seen the old show How It's Made. If so, my explanation gets a little easier. If not, I ask them if they know how everyday things are produced or manufactured. For context, I'll typically talk a little bit about how manufacturing facilities are organized to make all of the wonderful things that we use, and that they use all sorts of equipment to do that. I'll often refer to all these machines as Frankenstein's monster, and our job is to come in and put the brains in it through computer program. I ask them if they've ever done self-checkout, which most have, and tell them that we design screens just like that, but for operators in the industrial space, so they can run their machines better from one spot. Our job is to make it easier for operators to control the machines and to make them go faster or slower, hotter or colder, or whatever variables that they need to keep an eye on to ensure that all those wonderful things come out correctly the same way every time. I also talk about how our solutions give the operations management of a company the information they need to help their plants run smoothly and productively by providing reports, graphs, tables, and all this can be done in real time nowadays. At that point, they either understand a little better or pretend to understand if they regretted asking me the question.
Oh, come on. That never happens. Tell me a little bit about the history of the company, how it began and how it's evolved in the space.
Well, almost everyone's heard about the company starting in garages. Ours is one that started in the penthouse suite of one of our founders, actually an attic. In 1991, Premier System Integrators was founded to provide automation services, primarily in the automotive industry at the time. By the year 2000, we expanded to 3 offices near Nashville, Tennessee, Huntsville, Alabama, and Cincinnati, Ohio. And we expanded to service industries like food and beverage, pulp and paper, metals, chemical, and a few others. 2004, we became a Rockwell Automation Solutions provider. In 2006, we became CSIA certified for the first time. And that process helped us manage all aspects of the business rather than just delivering good controls projects. In 2012, we expanded our services to add Rockwell Information Solution Provider certification in addition to the Automation Solutions Provider. Fast forward a little bit closer, 2014, we became a 100% employee-owned company, or what's called an ESOP. This was one of the most significant moves in our company's history. Ken and the executive team were working diligently on succession planning and wanted to protect the company's future, the employees, and our culture. The ESOP option allowed us to do so, and we're glad we did it. It put the future of the company in the hands of the employees rather than a conglomerate or some holding company. It's been one of the most rewarding aspects to our business, and you can see it when we're talking with our employees. They know that they're part of something special and they want to preserve it. In 2015, we became CSIA certified in all 3 offices at the time. This was quite an accomplishment because it demonstrated our commitment to being one cohesive company operating in different regions rather than 3 different companies. And that same philosophy carried forward to 2020 when we acquired Feet Forward, that is now our Atlanta office in Georgia. In 2021, we changed our name to EOSYS from Premier System Integrators to emphasize our employee-owned business, hence the E and EO, and the commitment we have to our employees and to our customers. It's kind of like a family. These events in our timeline are indicators of our evolution and growth as a company. However, when we talk about companies evolving implies change, and EOSYS has had many changes over the years, as I just mentioned a few. So before we move on, I would like to pause and say that while change for any growing company is inevitable, successful growth is done with the understanding that we can only do so if we remain consistent to our core values. And the things that we didn't change over the years, such as our consistency, our focus on technical excellence, and continuous improvement, for example, have enabled us to change.
So you mentioned Rockwell. What other suppliers do you work with? Are you certified or endorsed with anything you'd like to mention?
Well, we work with quite a few suppliers. A few of the more prominent ones are Rockwell Automation, Foxborough, Yokogawa, Parsec, InSource, Ignition, and Wonderware. We have certified partner status with a number of them, including Rockwell. We're a gold partner with them, and Parsec, we're a gold partner with them as well. Certified with ThinManager and Wonderware. And then even on the industrial IT space side of things, we are also Cisco certified network associates, or what's commonly called CCNA.
How much of your business is repeat? I assume that's a metric that you track. And why would you say that they return?
Well, they say that it costs at least 5 times more to develop a new customer than keeping an existing customer. That said, approximately 85% of our business is repeat business. Why do they return? Simply put, they return because we've consistently delivered high-value solutions to their operations. They know that the solutions we provide are going to be right and right the first time, and that we stand behind our solutions. They know that whoever we put on the projects from whichever office they're located in are going to provide the same level of high-value service. We think our customers are partners. Quite frankly, even much of our new business is generated from referrals from people that have worked for or with our customers, either as employees or partners.
Hi, Lisa. It's Christine McQuilkin with Rivergate Marketing.
Hi, Christine. What's up? Did I miss the CSIA marketing committee call or something?
No, I'm calling because I heard about the 2 Truths and a Lie series, and I want to play. But there's a catch. Instead of 2 truths, I want to do 2 lies.
Okay, sure. Why not? Go for it.
I'm going to say 3 statements, and then you tell me which one is true. Here we go. Number 1, it doesn't matter how your website looks on someone's phone. Everyone in this industry works on a desktop computer, for goodness sake. Number 2, you should encourage your employees to spend time on social media while at work. You never know what they might run across when they're scrolling. Number 3, there's no point in taking potentially billable time for an engineer to write an article to be published in a trade journal. Better that they just get the client work done. That's what you hired them for. Which one of these statements is true?
Oh, this is easy. The true statement has to be number 2 because I do it all the time.
You are right. You should encourage your employees to spend time on social media while at work, specifically on LinkedIn. It's a great tool for networking. When employees share your company's LinkedIn posts, it greatly increases the post's exposure. Our clients have shared some amazing stories about getting sales through LinkedIn when employees have shared posts.
Let me guess. This is the type of content you will be presenting at the CSIA Executive Conference in June. Am I right?
You know it. My boss, Georgia Whalen, and I will be there to talk about why a company's digital footprint matters in all areas of the business, from hiring top talent to driving business development. Plus, we will make sure everyone walks away from the session with actionable advice, tactics, tools, and strategies to help them achieve their business goals.
This topic is spot on. I mean, the trend was well underway in the before times, but now it's on steroids. Why don't you tell the good people where they can go to find out more information about your session and the conference?
All the details are available at controlsys.org/conference 2022.
Before you go, I want to ask you...
Is it about my pet chickens again? You really are kind of obsessed.
Oh, sorry. Do you consider that foul play?
I'm hanging up now.
Bye, Christine.
Bye, Lisa.
So you talked a lot about the history of the organization, but let's focus a little bit more specifically on kind of recent years. How has your company grown or changed in the past couple of years? And what are you expecting for the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I'd like to say that becoming 100% employee-owned company is new. When I think about it, that was over 5 years ago, and it still seems a bit fresh to me. However, to answer your question better, in the last couple of years, I'd say 3 things come to mind. First, we successfully acquired FeedForward, located in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and can say that they're fully integrated into the company at this point. This was successful only because we were compatible culturally, and it showed us that we can do this, and our culture is something people want to experience. Another change or evolution for us is that we changed our management structure to accommodate the growth that we're seeing now, and we'll see into the future. A lot of companies start by relying on a few key individuals, no different than we did. And as the company grows, the span of control gets a little out of hand, and the results suffer if they don't change accordingly. We needed a more scalable structure. We now have people dedicated to things like project management, as well as position people to be specialized in certain technologies. The last one I'll mention today is our focused development of our digital transformation team, which is now one of our fastest growing teams, and the opportunities are significant. In the next couple of years, I expect that our company will be more fully integrated internally than we've ever been. While each of our departments are high-functioning departments individually and work well with each other, I believe the quality and the speed of information exchange will be tremendous. And we'll take our ability to do much more improvement at higher levels because of the building blocks we put into place today and just a few years ago. I would expect EOSYS also to have more opportunities for acquisition. As our reputation has grown, and some of the founders of many of the integrators that started their businesses in the 1980s or 1990s are looking to retire and provide a good home for their employees. And we think EOSYS can provide that environment for the right kind of company. Of course, that's a very involved process, but worth exploring if the company cultures are compatible.
So I also understand you went through a little bit of a rebrand, right? In the past couple of years, 2 years, a year and a half, something like that. Talk us a little bit about why you rebranded and what the process was like.
Well, the why we were branded, we want to highlight our strengths. And one of the things that we learned over the years was that really what makes EOSYS is our people. And why not highlight those things? Because we don't sell widgets. We're really selling people's time and their brain power. So they're really what's the most important aspect to our business. And when we did that, we can see in everybody's day-to-day lives here that it's really important to them. They know they got a big stake in this company. And it's not just kind of like the financial kind of things. It's more of the ownership type of things. And when people own things and that they know they can make an impact, they generally do better jobs when we all do that. So that's the reason we did it. And it was just time. We have some recent transitions. One of our founders has retired. Our founder, Ken Coggins, is in semi-retirement at this point. And the others are also thinking about retirement. So it was just a bit of I won't say a fresh start, because we certainly, we stand on the shoulders of giants, if you will, and we want to continue that culture as we move forward. We don't want to lose those important aspects. We just wanted to highlight the things that we are as a company a little bit better than we used to.
It certainly has a very modern look. The colors and everything looks super fresh and modern. So I applaud you. I know, with the marketing background that I have, I've gone through rebrands and it's a job for sure.
It was definitely a challenge, and it took us, the better part of a year to pull it off. But again, we're glad we did it, and we're not completely done. We still got some T's to cross and some I's to dot. But in the same respect, everybody's very supportive of it and happy that we did it.
What advice would you give to a prospective customer researching automation, controls engineers, or system integrators?
Tell them to find a partner, not just an integrator. They should not only understand the integrator's reputation and capabilities, which they tend to all look up, but also their ideologies and their operations philosophies. Those values should be similar. The cost of switching integrators every few projects can become a major drain regarding the consistency of the results that they get. Those customers should understand that in the life of any solution, it's not usually cheaper to do it twice. They should look at the total cost, including such things as downtime costs, opportunity costs, cost of maintenance, and the overall value, not just the initial cost. As companies continue to outsource more and more of the integration work, they need to find someone that can understand what they really need. There's a big difference between verification and validation. It's immensely more difficult to provide you with what you really want versus a solution that simply meets the spec. There's a certain art to having a truly satisfied customer. If you tell me you're hungry and I give you a plate of beans, I'm meeting the spec. But it might not have been what you really wanted. That's verification. If what you really wanted was a steak and we're partners committed to a relationship, I'll offer you a steak instead of a plate of beans. That steak also meets the spec, and it was what you really wanted in the first place. That's validation. That relationship is critical. We understand that at EOSYS and value our partnerships with our customers. They know we'll take care of them, and they understand that good integrators have options too. In fact, I've heard from more than one consultant over the years that service providers should fire some of their customers. It has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. We got to collaborate, not compete for a solution for them.
In your opinion, what is the biggest challenge facing the automation marketplace today and coming up in the future?
This one's pretty easy. It's recruiting. The need for automation is far outpacing the abilities of our colleges and universities to produce controls-focused engineers. The cost of labor is generally the largest cost for our customers. And as that cost continues to rise for many reasons, as certainly in the last few years, it's gone way up, they will inevitably be looking for automated solutions. We as integrators have to be laser focused on the motivational factors of these prospective employees. However, warm bodies aren't enough either. We need the right technical people, but those people have to be compatible with our culture.
I'm curious about the fact that you are employee owned. Is that a plus when you're going out to recruit new folks?
Yeah, we're finding that happens quite often. a lot of the college-aged students and such will come up to us. If for nothing else, they might not even be in engineering or whatever. They'll come up and just ask us, I hear you're employee-owned. Are you looking for all kinds of various degrees and majors that we can't accommodate here at EOSYS, but it is quite interesting that they do come up pretty regularly and ask us, well, that's really neat. I figured I might as well just come over and ask, what is that? How's that work? So they're definitely interested in the concepts.
$240,000. That's how many page views the Industrial Automation Exchange pulled in last year. What's more, 90% of them were new users. And if that's not enough, the Exchange ranks number 1 in Google search engine results for a number of key queries. What does that mean for you? Simple. If you are a system integrator or supplier who is not maximizing your presence on the Exchange, you are missing out on this traffic and the collective authority of this digital marketing powerhouse. The good news? The Exchange offers upgrades, packages, and display opportunities to ensure your brand is top of mind during your customers' complicated, research-based buying journey. To learn more about the packages and advertising opportunities, contact me, Lisa Richter, at industrydir@controlsys.org. Let's face it, it's a digital world out there, and you need to make sure your company doesn't get left behind. Let the Exchange go to work for you. What makes you optimistic about the future of the automation control systems industry?
Well, while no industry is immune from recessions, some are more resilient than others, and the control systems industry is one of them, I think. When times are good, customers are generally adding capacity, and to do so, they need system integrators. When times are tough, customers are generally cost-cutting, such as layoff, and they need to automate just to maintain the capacity that they have, and they call integrators. If your company has a diverse service offering like vertical and such like controls, HMI, MES, MIS systems, and offer those services across various industries like pulp and paper, food and beverage, chemicals, and such, your resilience is even stronger. The automation and control systems industry looks bright from my perspective.
Yeah, we certainly saw that in the pandemic. Those organizations that had diversified revenue sources or were various verticals were a lot more resilient than the ones who may be too focused in some of the segments that nosedived during the pandemic. So I applaud any company that's been able to diversify the types of customers that they serve. So why did your company become a member of CSIA?
I get this question regularly every year at the executive conference. It really boils down to expectations. I think many people expect me to answer something to the effect that we can get more business if we're certified. And while that may be true, the question is whether that certification is the means or the end. The certification itself doesn't make you better. The process of adopting the best practices and obtaining the certification does. For EOSYS, our core values include a continuous improvement culture. It's like breathing to us. We're always improving. When identifying gaps to achieve a particular goal, part of the analysis should be benchmarking. And we got to be humble enough to know that we may not have all the answers, and it's prudent to learn from others. We as a company believe that our employees reflect that belief. It's one of the primary drivers for me participating on the Best Practices Committee, for example, CSIA. CSIA membership provides that benchmarking. For some, it may be simply being able to network, for example, at the executive conference or through some chat or just making connections, being part of a peer group. For others, it's achieving that certification. For us, it was easy to say that we should pay attention to and at least consider the collective wisdom of some of the best companies in the space. In other words, our reasons were predominantly intrinsic, not extrinsic.
Talk to me a little bit about your work on the best practices manual. I mean, you're being humble here. You are a workhorse when it comes to that massive, massive project. So tell us a little bit about it and why you're so committed to ensuring that it's kept up to date and that you put so much time and effort into it.
it'd be impossible for me to sit here and say that it's me, because it is a pretty large team of people, and they all have a bit of a labor of love here for this stuff, for improving and process improvements and such. So it really is a team effort, and I'm just one small part. I'm just chief cat herder, if you will. So it's pretty enjoyable from that perspective. Everybody does their best, and they share openly and across, different things, what they're doing. And again, we're all just making each other better, if you will. It's important to stay up to date. Things change, right? The things that worked, 20 years ago may or may not work today. The speed of the internet, the speed of just communications, the ability to communicate. We wouldn't have been able to put out another version in 3 years, 20 years ago. It would have been a lot harder. And, with COVID, what would we have done, for example? So all the technology changes, our customers' needs change. Usually they want it faster, cheaper, better, all at the same time. And quite frankly, the innovation, the companies is providing that. It's just a team effort. There's no other way to say that other than, without everybody chipping in, we just wouldn't be able to get across the finish line.
Yeah. So just in case people aren't aware, you are working on 6.0. That's the next revision. You're getting very close to releasing it, as I understand.
It'll definitely be released this year, and it should be pretty far along. We are in the stages of final edits at this point, and we look forward to providing a bigger update at the executive conference in Denver this year. So we're looking forward to that. We put together a panel of some of these team members that contributed heavily to the updates and the various sections, and they deserve just as much credit as anybody else on the team.
Speaking of certified, if there's a customer out there wondering, should I choose a certified CSI certified company to work with? What would you tell them? Why should they hire CSIA certified?
Well, I'd probably turn it on them and ask them a question, and that's, do you want a different result for each project? And most of them will say no. Of course, it's one of those rhetorical questions, but the certification does indicate a certain level of consistency and dependability in the company. To achieve certification, you can't just do something right once. You have to repeatedly do it right. To achieve certification, you just can't be good at one aspect of the business. You have to have a solid business model, not only just in your engineering functions, but also accounting, your sales, marketing, your quality, your HR, your safety, your IT, and probably a few other departments that come up. So with a certified integrator, you're really getting a company you can trust to provide you a solid solution at the end of the day.
So I know you love what you do, but if you had to pick a completely different profession, what would it be?
Well, I have a tremendous passion for improving processes, and I do enjoy to teach. And I don't mind making money. So I'm not so sure teaching would be my thing just because of the last factor, but I do enjoy it. I'd probably be in the consulting field at some point, given my background, and it's pretty diverse, I should say, across a lot of different things. So I think I could probably add some tremendous value in that space. But if you'd asked me 30 years ago, I would have said, a professional major league pitcher, but that has passed me. So I'm not going to be able to, I'll never get there on that one.
What's the best advice you could give your younger self just getting started?
For me personally, it's take more chances. It's be less averse to risk. I'm pretty conservative, but opportunities rarely knock twice. Of course, I'm referring to calculated risk, not jumping off a building and sprout wings on the way down. And just as important as taking that risk is be committed when you do take some risk, take action, and resist the convenience of overanalysis. Don't wait until you're 100% sure. 70 or 80 is good enough. Have a plan, but know that plan is going to change. I refer to one of my favorite quotes by Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan to beat them until it gets punched in the mouth, and life tends to do that. So have a plan, but be adaptable. Consider the risks and mitigations. Don't let the knowledge of the risk dictate your future. Understand that failure is not a label. It's not an identity for you. Failure is a tool to help you get better next time.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you are interested in learning more about Tony Valasek or EOSYS, you can find them on the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiaexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Tony, for joining me today.
Our pleasure, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also help others find us by leaving a 5-star review and sharing your favorite episodes with colleagues. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.